Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last BQH hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking to my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm speaking on myself under hypnosis, which means the answers are coming from a 25th dimension. Before I start reading, as always, I want to thank you for subscribing, liking, and commenting. It really makes a big difference to me. It just makes me happy to see your comments, even if you're just stopping by to say hello or Happy New Year or whatever the case might be. Sounds good to me. All right, I'm going to start reading here, but the first question, I just want to point out that it's a follow-up, or really the second part of the question that the 25th was answering in my previous video. So if you haven't watched that, if you have not gotten to that, please do watch that before you watch this, because it refers to life reviews, and we are basically inquiring as to what this is about. Is this something that happens all the time, or how does it work? Because supposedly this is the work, and I can attest to it because I am doing this work consciously. This is the work that all of us are doing right now, whether you might be aware of it consciously or not. We are all doing this work. This is part of becoming Neo, which means that we are accepting that we do create our reality. Of course we do, but we never accepted that at a conscious level before, even though many of us have heard this said a million times. Yes, you create your reality. But as we all know, one thing is saying something, one thing is actually knowing something. All right, so I'm going to jump in here. Lorrayne, do we do life reviews at the higher self level after we pass on from quote unquote normal lifetimes when we don't have a takedown? Or are we doing them now because we're all going to New Earth? Me. Yeah, so no, in terms of what we just described, and this again was described in the previous video, acceptance, etc., we don't have to do these life reviews in what we consider to be in between lifetimes, for the simple reason that the higher self knows all. It knows exactly what it came here to do. It's like you, right? All you think about, say that you went out to play soccer this morning. All you come back with is, did I have fun, or was it not that great? You know, it was raining, this guy cheated, and it wasn't that great. I mean, I could have done better. That's all. And they were laughing here. So if you want to think of that as being a life review, that's fine, but it's not quite the concept that we are describing right now, the process we're doing right now. So in that sense, no, this is happening, and it is happening at a conscious level because we are going to New Earth. In fact, we are the ones doing the life reviews, the ones going to New Earth. So now, does it mean that nobody else is doing them? Some are, because you already know this. If one person does something, everybody's doing it. We all feel each other. However, at the same time, other people don't have to do this. It's not something that they have to do. Now, obviously, nobody has to do anything. We know the higher self is free. But we're saying it's not something that they set themselves up to do necessarily while we're here in overtime. The reason for staying here might have been to help the light team, or to finish up some tasks that they want to finish, or to help keep the shell in place, which is the case with many of the dark that are left. We already discussed this. But for us on the team of the light that are going to New Earth, this is an important process that we're working on. And it is part of what we call the becoming Neo transition. Because basically we consciously realize that we are not only creating this reality, of course, but also that it's all equal. We've experienced so many different things, and they all don't matter. It doesn't matter what type of experience it was. I have to tell you, I'm having a big problem with the second part. It's going to take me a while to integrate this. It is not easy. I understand when they say, it's all equal, meaning we've all set it up. If you think of it, and this helps me, this analogy helps me a lot. If you think of you focusing on a video game, you don't really care what happens to your avatar. And it doesn't mean that you don't care as in you want to win, right? You want the avatar to be okay. It doesn't mean that you just started running into a wall or doing crazy things and get all shot up and killed and whatever it is. But I mean, whatever happens, you have infinite lives. So you just make one come back, right? And so from a higher self perspective, I can see that, obviously they don't, or we don't experience things the way that our bodies do. And we consciously do at this level while we're in the game. So it's not easy. Well, everything might be equal. It's not easy to accept that nothing matters. Whatever experience it was, it's all the same. So we'll see. We've got lots of work to do ahead of us. We'll continue reading here. Now, from a 3D perspective, of course, you prefer some experiences to others. It's very clear. We said many times we wish we had had a lot more fun here. But at the same time, when it comes to judgment, the higher self has no judgment the way we think of it. So you wouldn't do a review as in say, how did I do? And so no, in this case, no. We are doing it because we are going to New Earth and we're doing this work in preparation for it while we're still here. Lorrayne, thank you. And she's reading this question in the first person. This is the way I wrote it. So even though she says I, she means Clea. All right, so you said there are no emotions at the higher self level, but I cannot reconcile this concept with the fact that we are bored in the 25th and have a desire to create and to have fun. Boredom and being disappointed at how we played the game here are emotions, and desire and wanting to have fun imply emotion. I vividly remember how I felt when I became source and merged with the all. I know I did not have the same strong emotions I have here. And I get what you mean when you say the higher self doesn't have emotions the way we think of them. But despite my personal experience, this is hard to understand. Where do we draw the line? We can conceive not having emotions here. The higher self sounds like a cold robot. But we know this is our human judgment. There is this intelligence at play. We just are, but there seems to be more than just isness. We think, we feel, we do things like humans in this sense. Please explain. Me. So we understand that this is a hard concept to absorb at a 3D level while we are focused on a 3D reality because our emotions are very dominant in this reality. So we completely understand where the question is coming from. At the same time, Clea can refer to and can relate to what we're about to say, which is what we have said before, which is at the higher self level, there are no emotions in the sense of what we experience here. Clea remembers that when she became, the first time that she became one with the all, which was during a sound bath meditation, she still felt as if she still was aware of being and she was at peace. If you want to think of it, peace is a feeling. Peace is an emotion. She was at peace. So we still have the ability as our higher self. And that's how we've been able, obviously, to create all these different things, these different realities, if you want to call them that. We still think. And so it's hard then to separate the thinking and accepting from the emotions. So when we say, for example, when Clea had this merged experience with the all, she was seeing planet Earth and it was beautiful. So she did feel at peace. That definitely contributed. She was satisfied with the fact this is beautiful. There is no need to be upset. There is no upset. And so that's what we mean by we don't have these kinds of emotions. It doesn't mean that we don't have preferences for how we want things to be. That's where we said many times, for example, that we are very sad about taking this planet down. Now, does it mean that we experience the sadness in the same way that you would experience it here, as in despair? No, we look at it and we say, that really didn't pan out the way we wanted it to. It's quite unfortunate. But there is a gap there between then accepting it and resisting it because you are desperate, because it means that there is a loss to you. At the higher self level, there is no loss. It's what it is. It truly is full acceptance because you realize it's not real. It is just a game. And this thought came into Clea's mind because she was playing video games at the Science Museum just a couple of days ago. And this was a couple of days before the session. And she remembers getting aggravated because she was playing with Pac-Man and she was getting aggravated like, oh, they keep eating me or whatever. And she was saying to herself, this is why I don't play video games. I can't take it. They were laughing here. So we understand that even when we play video games here, we bring our emotions in. It means something to us in the sense of, oh goodness, oh, this makes me mad or whatever it is, because we like to play like this here. We like to believe that things are a big deal or that they matter. They mean something. But at the higher self level, we truly do not get attached to these games. And we don't mean that we don't care for the games, but we don't get attached in the sense of however it goes, it goes. I realize it's not real, and I'm just focusing on this one right now. It's almost as if you were pretending that you're having a tea party. Pretend you're a child and then you're having a tea party with your dolls, around a little table, and something goes badly. Somebody spills tea. Okay, but it's not real. There was no tea spilled. No big deal. That's how it is. We have a different perspective of things. So when we say we have no emotion, and it made us giggle when Clea said it sounds like a cold robot, we don't mean to say, keep in mind, we're very similar to our higher selves in the sense, in that we are not completely different. So the higher self, we like to think here of our higher self as being this copacetic, just kind of bland entity. They were laughing. That's exactly how I think of the higher self. Or at least this is what Clea thinks is like. It's a little bit like what we think of Source. It's like this perfect entity. And of course, Source is perfect. We don't mean to say it isn't. What we meant to say is what we think of perfection, which is completely unraveled, completely outside of how we feel about things here. We said many times, we are everything. We feel everything. So when we say that we don't have emotions at a higher self level, we don't mean to say that we have no opinions or that we have no preferences or interests, or we are not able to say, well, that really didn't work out so well. That kind of sucked. We will. We do. This is why we're taking this down. We're doing this at a higher self level. So yes, I think that the misunderstanding comes from the fact that we have very clear ideas of what emotions look like in 3D. And the moment that you hear no emotion, you think it's a blank slate, whereas it absolutely isn't. It's just a difference in gradation and in fitting these emotions, putting them in the correct perspective, which is, okay, well, that's what it is, and let's move on. Lorrayne, thank you. When you explained Clea's dream about the bus and her daughter, and this was a video that I put out a few videos ago, and you can refer to it. It was very meaningful if you haven't seen it. When you explained Clea's dream about the bus and her daughter, you said, this is how we feel on the team of the light. We feel like we're the only ones who actually cared. And this is our judgment. Again, we played the game just as well as everybody else. We cared, but we also can't get to everything. We've not been able to fix this. Do you mean to say that caring is a limiting belief? Only wanting to help, protect, and fix things? Does everyone care when we're in the game, or only the team of the light? So guys, a lot of these questions, you probably noticed, I am trying to understand how we could go so badly, so wrongly down this slope. And I understand it's all the same and there's no right and wrong. I just mean wrong as in it sucked. It sucked here. Whether you look at it from higher self level or 3D level, it just sucked. And even at a higher self level, we have not been happy about a lot of stuff that's happened here. And 21st has told us over and over. So we're not crazy when we feel sad, when we feel off and we don't know what the reason is because we are one. Even though we pretend there is a separation here, we don't know what's going on. And we're always in la la land. We do feel each other. We are each other. And so we have suffered because of what we've done here. So I am wrecking my brain. I understand the part about accepting it, but I cannot accept something until I understand it. That's why understanding is always the first piece of it. And I know we'll do a lot of this work on the earth because it is too much for us to handle. When they say it's too much for us to handle, they don't just mean at an emotional level, but also physical level. Because as you well know, we clear through our bodies, or our bodies help us clear. So we wouldn't be able to survive knowing everything if there was no veil here. At the same time, a lot of us, I know I have started doing this process. I get a lot of information on what's been going on behind the scenes in my dreams, which means that I also have the emotions that we have experienced here. It's not just knowing something like you hear it on television kind of thing. And even then, you know that we do carry a lot of that as well. We get emotional sometimes when we hear things or we see things, even though we weren't in the situation. In a dream level, you're actually part of the scene. You're in the situation. So long story short, I'm struggling. I am struggling with this. So that's why I ask all these questions. So in this case, I'm asking, were we wrong to care? Are we the only ones to care? What happened here? How come we were so unable to change anything? The vibration has become so dark. So here's the answer from the 25th. Me. Okay, so we just explained that at a higher self level, we do care about this matrix. We do care about these games. We care in the sense that we would be extremely sad if we had to take down the entire matrix, for example. We like hanging out in the matrix. So in that sense, we do care about these games. However, there is a difference between caring for something at higher self level. So if something happened to that thing, you would see why it happened. You would have full knowledge and you would accept it for what it is. And caring, what we think of caring at a 3D level. At a 3D level, we think caring looks a certain way. So yes, in that sense, it's a limiting belief. For example, for us to assume that caring means that you have to help people. You have to help them in a certain way, because if you don't, then it means you don't care. And then you have to fix situations because you can. You cannot stand to see somebody in trouble, whatever you consider to be trouble or a bad situation. That is a limiting belief. We don't, at the higher self level, we're very clear on the fact that everybody's going through the exact experience they wish to experience. Now, does it look dire from the outside very often? Yes, it does, because we already said many times, the level of experience, the quality of experience we've had here is very low. And therefore, things can look very painful, can look very desperate. And so, of course, we, as in the team of the light, we think that we have, if you want to think of it that way, it's almost like the leeway into the fact that we want to rebalance. We want to rebalance the vibration. We're trying to fix it. So the idea behind this question is it judgmental and is it imposing our will when we try to help somebody? Not necessarily, because this is the game we came to play. So yes, you can look at it that way. You shouldn't help other people. You shouldn't assume that they need help just because they look like they're in a bad situation. You can look at it that way. But really, what are we trying to do at the end of the day? We are trying to rebalance things. Isn't that what we're here to do? How the game has been played? So we say there's a lot of judgment going around the spiritual community where a lot of people will say, well, it's their freedom, which of course they are correct. It's their choice to go through that experience and you should stay out of it. But are you wrong? The assumption here is that you are wrong for wanting to change their experience. First of all, we said a million times, the essence doesn't have to accept any help of any kind. So if they were not interested in getting this, they would let you know or they would reject it. That's no problem. We know this. You could do a healing on somebody. They might even tell you, yeah, I want the healing. But the essence really doesn't want the healing, or a person doesn't want to accept it, and then nothing is going to happen, because the essence always has to be open to accepting things for things to change, manifest differently. So is it wrong? Because this is what is implied in this question. Is it wrong? Are you wrong to want to help people? Is it a failing on your part that you feel like you got to do and then you martyr yourself? Of course, we look at things through a certain lens here where we think, yeah, I'm martyring myself or whatever it is, because of course we're all playing the game and we always use a low vibration. We often go to a low vibration even when we have options. We always think of things in a more low vibrational way because, again, it's part of playing the game here, or how we believed we had to play the game here. At the same time, what are you really doing? What you're doing is you're rebalancing things. You're attempting to rebalance things. If you're on the team of the light, that's really what you do. Not only all of us have been wanting to rebalance things here. So it's not a negative thing. That's not a negative thing at all. Let's put it this way. In the great scheme of what's happened on this planet in terms of darkness and what we consider negative, this wouldn't be your biggest issue, that there were too many people trying to help others. They were laughing here. This is not a moral call that we're making. So here's the difference, though. We want to say this is not a moral call that we are making. We're not saying it is the right thing to do to help other people. This is how we think of it here at 3D level. At the higher self level, we really are doing what we believe we have to do to play the game, which again is to make things better in our case. We think of it as taking things to a higher vibrational level, which again in a 3D way looks like things are better. The person is not being abused anymore. This person is not homeless anymore. I saved this animal from the street, whatever the case might be. This is what we're talking about. At a higher self level, this is not a moral choice. It's part of playing the game. So there's really nothing wrong with it. So we would say to a lot of people that say, oh, it's a limiting belief. Of course, it's a limiting belief. Everything here is a limiting belief. And they were laughing because our goal of being here is to be limited and to have beliefs, right? To have ideas, because none of this is real. And they were laughing some more. So yes, it is a limiting belief in that sense. Absolutely. That we have to help others. The essence is free. You can do whatever you want. We've even told you, you can incarnate or you could turn, even in the same lifetime. If you wanted to, you could turn to the dark and it would be completely and perfectly acceptable. There is no judgment. But at the same time here, we like to think in terms of morality. So that's a whole different story. So then you know that if you think in terms of morality, you're within the game. You're playing the game. So you don't have to do anything. We already know this. You don't have to do absolutely anything. You just have to be. You're here to be and enjoy. But the fact is, because of the team we're on, or because of how we set ourselves up in a particular lifetime, like in this case, it sometimes goes with our consciousness that we feel as if we have to do some things. This is completely 3D, absolutely. And so your other question actually related to this and was, does everybody care? We already explained that at a higher self level, we do care for these games. For example, that's why we're distraught that we have to take this down. This is quite unfortunate. We never wanted this. At the same time, the question asked, does everybody here care? Like the higher self, do they care? Implied in this question was, do we care as humans? And so how would we think of caring from a 3D perspective, which is, oh my God, something bad is going to happen. We got to take care of this and we got to save Mother Earth. Do we care like that? We don't. This is what we were discussing in the previous question. We don't have these types of emotions for one simple reason. Our emotions don't work in the same way as what we think, how we think of emotions here. Because very simply, we are not afraid. When we care about things, oftentimes there is a fear there that if we don't do anything, something bad is going to happen. Or that if it wasn't for people who care, there's so many people, we have these judgments. There are so many people who don't care, so many people who do bad things. And thank God I care. Why do I care so much? The reason we have these judgments is because, again, not only we're playing the game, but also because we have this underlying fear that everything is going to end very badly unless somebody steps in and fixes things. And of course, it's going to have to be me because it's always me. I'm the only one who cares. And now we're doing this at team level by saying that the team of the light is the only one that cares. From a 3D perspective, of course, it doesn't look like some people care. And we already said some people, some essences, have come to this planet and wanted things to be as is. They wanted to experience this. They don't want to be part of anything. So in the dream that Clea's referring to, where we said that, for example, she had asked in the dream, asked for help to protect her daughter from this person who works on the bus, the stewardess. And she said, well, it's the end of my shift, so sorry. Not even sorry, right? Just, it's what it is. It's like there's nothing I can do. It's not my problem. So this is how we see things here. And this is our human judgment. It's the way that we play here, that we like to believe that we care. So people don't care. So people do the wrong thing. It's always us versus them. But at the end of the day, at the higher self level, we care. But we don't feel, we're not afraid of loss because we know it's made up. We know that we're safe. Nothing is happening. Nothing is happening to anybody. So what if you don't step in and help somebody who's being abused? Now, we already said, we want to be clear on this. We're not justifying what is happening here. We never have. And you well know this. We've said many times that there are things here that are extremely low vibration that we never, ever wanted to experience. So we're not saying it's okay to abuse somebody or to let them be abused. What we are saying is that no one has to do anything. Everything is perfectly fine. There is no judgment on people's action or lack of action. This is something that we believe has to be played a certain way at 3D level. There is no such judgment at the higher self level. We are not here judging our fellow higher selves saying, I cannot believe you played the game that way. We're laughing here. You're such a loser. What'd you do? So that's what we mean. So yes, we do care, but caring at the higher self level does not look the way that it looks at 3D level. I have to tell you guys, this is another topic I have a hard time with. Obviously, that's where I get a lot of my questions, is my personal experience of dealing with these things. I have a hard time because I do see how passive a lot of us have been, all of us really have been on this planet. And even the fact that it doesn't really matter what you do. I know that morality or feeling like you gotta fix things is a limiting belief. Again, that's what we're here to experience. At the same time, I am a fixer. I cannot stand by if I see something that I consider to be an injustice. And I'm not trying to sound like I'm a superhero or anything of the kind. I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. Unfortunately, this seems to be one of the things we're going to have to integrate, and when we realize it's all equal, but it's really tough. And I know how tough it is. I have actually lived through this frustration over several weeks, even in my dreams. I get all kinds of dreams. This was just one example where everything is falling apart or some version of it. And I'm telling people, I'm going to people saying, this is happening, and people don't even know what I'm talking about. In fact, I have at least one more dream about this coming up that I have asked the 25th about, and then I'm going to share with you. So it's tough. I know that we are really challenging this. Not only I see this happening, again, even in our reality. I remember mentioning something or commenting on somebody's video, a friend's video, saying something extremely mild about, it's unfortunate this would be happening. And she said, well, it is your judgment that they are not happy what they're doing, which I was never trying to impose my will on them. I was merely stating it is unfortunate that we have such low vibrational choices. We make such low vibrational choices. There was no judgment really. And she right away corrected me as if I'm wrong. And again, nothing, no judgment against her. But it did make me wonder, like stand back and be like, wow, very aggressive. And this is a lot of the games we've seen played here, especially on the side of the light. So I do believe the 25th when they say it's not that we are always right, or we like to think here that we are good and everybody else is bad. I've seen a lot of very, very low vibrational behaviors on the side of the light as well. And we're all, if guilt is real, which it is, and of course, we're all guilty of this. So I'm not saying that this person is particularly bad or aggressive. In fact, she's a super nice person, but it's very interesting. These are also limiting beliefs, right? Her limiting belief is that nobody can even make a comment or a judgment about a situation being not preferred because it means that we're trying to impose our will. I'm like, whoa. And again, with a lot of stuff that's happened here, you know what? I will impose my will. I don't care. If I see something that I can fix, I'll try to fix it. And this is just my choice. And, everybody makes their own choice and how they play this game. So it's what it is. All right. Well, I am going to end this video here. I think it's gotten a little long, but I do hope you enjoyed it. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.